I ain't pulling up in no granny costume, that shit hard to run in. I'm pulling up in a tracksuit and we really gonna get this fun in.
Oh my god, Weapons is so good with the bah and the ah and the all my friends were telling me to go see this movie and I didn't believe the hype, and I'm so glad I was wrong. But my favorite part of the movie by far is this little creature right here. When she showed up, I was so happy. You see, normally in horror movies, you get lots of character building and setup only for the evil thing to be like Satan or just like a dude. But with Weapons, you know as soon as this woman steps in the frame, something ain't right about her. And sure enough, her ass is a witch. And except for the bare necessities, Weapons pretty much leaves her history and lore up to the imagination. Her powers are sorta explained in a rudimentary way, with the thorny stick and the blood and the water, but also like, what is this all about? Is she actually dying? Does the witchcraft take some sort of toll on her? Or does she actually have a terminal disease that she's holding off with the witchcraft? I want answers, and if you've seen the movie, I'm sure you do too. So to start, I want to analyze what is actually in the movie. Concrete evidence that the film gives us that upon further investigation, we can start to unravel the mystery of the witch. And then we're going to go into actual witch lore and see if we can find any historical or mythological evidence that relates to the witch's powers and weapons. It's incredible how powerful the witch, or Gladys, is in this movie. Despite being so decrepit, she affects the lives of all of our main characters, not to mention all the children in Alex's class and their families, all through her cunning, witchy ways. She has a way of disarming people with her appearance to make those who encounter her see her as a frail old woman who's probably going a bit senile. Gladys uses this to her advantage and disarms people long enough to complete her rituals and take complete control of them. Now let's get this out of the way first. This woman is not this woman's sister. I'm so sure that Gladys simply mind controlled her way into the Lilly family's lives. Alex and his dad sort of just say this outright.
But I don't even know her though.
I hear you, but I don't know her either.
Now, we don't know the exact circumstances of Alex's parents' relationship, but they seem pretty nuclear. If Alex's mom had a sister, it is very unlikely, near impossible, that his father wouldn't have met her by the time they're married and have a young child, regardless of how estranged she might be. But that would have happened off screen, so we can't be 100% sure, but we can be pretty sure. The first bit of magic we're going to examine is Gladys's ritual to take control of Alex's parents. We see Alex walk home after school to discover the witch has already taken control of his parents' minds, making them slow and docile. Now, to me, this scene is very interesting. The parents still seem to have some sort of agency. They can recognize Alex and even communicate in a rudimentary way, though they clearly aren't fully cognizant, but they aren't fully mindless zombies that we see them become later. The next morning, Alex comes downstairs to discover his parents are still at the table, and here we see the witch in her full form. We get our first glimpse of what seems to be her most powerful, or at least most easily understood tool. Some sort of thorny briar twig that we see her use several times to take control of people. In the close shot, we see that Gladys has wrapped hairs around the stick, and these hairs surely belong to Alex's parents. Then the witch pierces her skin with the thorn of the briar and coats her blood all around the branch, infusing it with the hair that's wrapped around it. Upon snapping the twig, Alex's parents begin to relentlessly stab themselves in the face with forks, and this is the basic layout of the witch's mind control ritual. Now, there are 5 elements present in this ritual. We have the stick, the thorn, the hair, the blood, and the bowl of water. What this magical wood is, we aren't really sure, but clearly it has some sort of magical properties, as it appears to be the same kind of wood used in every scene that we see this ritual take place in. The thorn, I think, is only important in that it gets the blood onto the stick. It is a small sacrifice to give some of your life force to the ritual in order to complete it. But I also think the blood is important in another way. The stick, or the ritual, knows whose blood it is that is being used to coat the stick. This gives power to the person who the blood belongs to. Basically, you use your blood so that you are the one who is the puppet master. The hair is simply a possession of the person or persons who you wish to control. We even see later that it doesn't have to be hair or a body part at all. Hair is just convenient because it's easy to wrap around the stick and coat in blood. Once all of these steps have been completed, you snap the branch and the subjects are taken over and forced to do as the witch bids. It is also interesting that her commands are non-verbal. Even at the end of the movie, when Alex performs the ritual, he doesn't say anything either. The mystical witch powers just sort of know what you want to be done. And lastly, the bowl of water. This is just used to end the ritual. My theory here is that the water cleanses the blood from the hair and thus removes the witch's will from the subjects. Now let's compare this scene to the scene where Gladys performs the ritual in Marcus's house. It's pretty much the same process except for 3 key things. The first is this bell. Gladys uses the bell to instantly hypnotize Marcus. I tried to find anything about the symbols on the bell. It appears to be some sort of upside down triangle and a number 6. My research didn't yield me any good answers for what the symbols mean. The upside down triangle in witchcraft can represent water, healing, or intuition, but none of these really match the scene except that there's water in the bowl, but the bell in the bowl seem totally unrelated. The 6 in witchcraft symbolizes solar energy, harmony, and balance. None of these really seem like things Gladys would be into. So maybe the 6 is just general evil like 666 and the triangle is a symbol yet unknown. The second thing that is different is instead of using hair from Marcus, Gladys stole a ribbon from his office when they met earlier. This proves that hair is not needed for the ritual and is probably just convenient to use. She does, however, use hair from Marcus's husband, which probably sets the target of the ritual, so you can use another person's hair or possession to set the target of the other person who is already under the spell of the witch. And apparently this is kind of a only one time needed sort of thing, since Alex controls all of his classmates at the end of the movie and he only possesses Gladys's hair. So once under the witch, always under the witch. It's also apparent that those under the spell of the ritual can be forced to push their bodies to the absolute limit. We see Marcus, who doesn't appear to be very fit, run all the way across town to attack Justine, and we see Paul continue to attack Justine with a bullet in his throat. And of course, the children have been standing in the basement for months, living off of nothing but soup. The movie alludes to these mind control elements a couple of times throughout the film. In the first classroom scene, we see that the class is learning about parasites, and Marcus and his husband are watching a nature documentary about cordyceps, a kind of virus fungus that infects ants and mind controls them. Someone should really make a story about that. Now that's the main ritual, but we also see a couple more rituals throughout the film. The first is kind of just a generic witch sitting in a circle with candles kind of thing. We can imagine this is what Gladys uses to draw energy from the children, or maybe commune with whatever dark powers she worships. We also see the line of salt, a protective barrier that, if crossed, will send the possessed guarding it into a rage-fueled attack on whoever crossed the salt line. Typically in media, salt is used to stop ghosts or vampires from crossing it, but it's possible salt is just a general ward that can have many purposes. So that's the witchcraft we see in weapons. It's practical, it's tactile. I love how much focus is really given to the ritual for the audience to hone in on what is actually happening. But the mechanics behind the physical actions are largely unknown, and as cool as Gladys is, we don't know much about her. Probably not even her real name. So we are forced to look outside the confines of the movie, read the ancient tomes of witch lore to uncover the unknown. I'm just yapping. Let's get into it. The practice of witchcraft dates all the way back to ancient Mesopotamia. Throughout all of history, evil women have cast curses on their community to fuel their horrid beliefs. Actually, witchcraft is linked to community tension, and it's sort of an outlet to cast off unliked members of the community or people that just don't follow social norms, but that's very boring, so let's stick to the mystical stuff. Witches are largely believed to use mundane objects or small animal parts and carve or draw runes into them to imbue them with some sort of power. I tried to find evidence of witches using briar or thorns, but all I really found was dog rose, or commonly known as witch's briar. But this plant is supposed to give luck and protection or even ward off vampires, not really akin to the nefarious uses that witches like Gladys use. However, I did come across some information about blood and effigies being used in certain rituals. An effigy is basically a stand-in for the target of the witch's ritual. This can also be called sympathetic magic. It could be a thorny stick, like we see in weapons. Typically, this effigy is carved with the target's name or a symbol that might be used to represent the target. So it's not too far of a stretch to say that hair or a possession of the target could be used to mark the target. Blood in witch lore is a bit different than it is in weapons. It's more of an enhancer. However, a few drops of a person's blood are believed to create a strong, unbreakable connection to that individual. Typically, the blood is from the target, not the spellcaster, but maybe it's possible that just using blood at all enhances the effects. And the sacrifice of one's life force and the process of going through pain to complete a ritual could also enhance its power. Most modern witch sites recommend not using blood or inflicting pain during a ritual due to the risk of increasing negative aspects of the ritual itself and to dissuade general self-harm. However, when we get to enacting the ritual, things get interesting. Enacting the ritual, or triggering it, involves using the effigy to focus magical intention. This could be done by speaking an incantation, burning the effigy, or similar actions that are meant to create a magical link between the target and the ritual. This could even be something like snapping the stick. And to break down why a ritual might be done at all, there are 3 basic reasons. To heal someone, which we see none of in weapons, and given how evil Gladys is, it's unlikely she could even perform this type of ritual at all. To harm, which is a basic hex or curse, we definitely see plenty of that. And lastly, to bind, which is to bind a target to the witch, making them perform an action or prevent them from performing an action. It's easy to see where the character of Gladys takes inspiration from historical witch lore and where the movie strays a bit off the known path. This is good. By not being able to get an easy explanation for the things you experience, you're forced to look deeper and come up with answers based on what little you can find and what your mind can piece together. For my part, this is where I land on the witch Gladys. I think she is an evil entity, perhaps not entirely human, who has been traveling for a very long time, using her magic to curse and control normal families in order to extend her own life, capturing them and draining their life force. I believe she entered the story before the first time we see her. She came upon the small town and tricked Alex's mom into believing Gladys was her sister. She infiltrated their home, took over their minds, and forced the child Alex into giving her the key to capture many more souls. It is my theory that she targets children due to their strong life force. Young, with many years to live, it is most likely that she can draw more power and sustain herself longer from them than, let's say, just a normal adult. Like she says,
Well, I was hoping your mom and dad would make me feel better, but it doesn't seem to be turning out so good.
it's also likely that the process of stealing life force is inefficient, imperfect. That would explain why she needs an entire class rather than just a few or even just Alex. And I think she's been doing this for a very long time. Perhaps in the past she could get away with only using adults, but maybe after a few too many failed rituals, her body is failing and she has to take a bigger risk this time. Collect a larger pool of souls to save her decrepit form. This risk ultimately proves to be her downfall, and Gladys is no more. But it's unlikely that she is the only witch out there. Perhaps one of her victims will learn from her practices and carry on this evil lifestyle. Anyway, thank you for watching. I really enjoyed weapons, obviously, and I decided to make a little video essay about it because I enjoyed it so much. I think I'm going to do another one on the movie The Heretic. I also saw that recently, even though it came out a little while ago. What do you guys think? Are other powers that Gladys might have had, or how do you think the rituals perform? What is their meaning? Who is she? Where did she come from? I'd love to see you guys' theories in the comments. But anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see ya next time.